And good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. The lights are playing up with me, so I'll try my glasses on. Over the last couple of days, you have all heard a great deal about the connected business and the technologies that enable it. Today, over the next 30 to 40 minutes, I would like to walk through what I consider personally one of the most important and key ingredients of a connected business. And I am talking about the API or the APIs. For a number of very significant and prominent connected businesses, the big names in the market, the API strategies are already part of their key business strategies. So they've established very important strategies around how they would use and how they would promote APIs. For a number of other businesses, probably the majority, people are accelerating their API strategies, trying to work out how, when, and where they use the APIs. So much so that the experts predict that in the connected business world, organizations without a clear API strategy will be left behind. So with that, I may just ask the audience for a show of hands on who here is a user of APIs. OK, we got a few. Who here is a provider of APIs? OK, we got some way to go. That's a very good way to start, and hopefully by this time next year, we'll have a few more hands showing up. So let's consider why are the APIs so important? There are a number of reasons, but fundamentally, the APIs present an additional revenue opportunity for most of the connected businesses. So I want to stress the revenue opportunity, hence today's topic, connected businesses and the API economy. Let's work out how we can succeed in this business. Let's get the definitions out of the way. Obviously, there are a number of different definitions around. Here's one I like. API economy is where companies expose their products and services as APIs and offer it to external parties in order to generate additional revenue. So once again, I stress on the additional revenue part of this definition. The explosion of mobile, social, cloud has meant that the opportunity for organizations and the businesses to provide services as APIs has increased significantly. And some organizations have been fast movers in leveraging those opportunities. Others are following. In a simple sense, the API becomes a way of packaging up important data, complex business processes, and other services in a way that people have never been able to imagine before. And that's significant. In a much talked about example of how companies are leveraging APIs, Expedia, the travel company, is said to be generating over $2 billion in revenue from APIs offered through to their affiliate network. So they provide the API, affiliate network uses it, additional revenue generation opportunity. So what we have done is we have said APIs are important. We've defined the APIs and looked at how some companies are using it. And there will be many more examples to come. Let's look at what's driving the demand or the need for the APIs. The customer expectations in the connected business, connected world is growing significantly. Customers expect a more personalized service from the connected businesses, their service providers. As a bank, we worry a great deal about what our customer experience is, what our customers are thinking, what they're expecting. Remember the first generation internet banking applications? Banks provided an internet website, users logged in, maybe using 1 password, 2 passwords. You could get some account balances, old transactions, past transactions. And as mobile evolved, some of that has changed, but fundamentally, a customer dealing with a bank on a one-to-one interaction isn't necessarily what the customers are looking for. In a bit of research that the Forrester Group did a few years ago, they identified some simple needs from a customer perspective. So let's look at how the customers are articulating what they want, in this case from financial services organizations, but it applies equally well to any other organization. They said, simple. We want the service, what you provide me to be available simply, not navigate through 5 screens to get to it. If it's a bank account balance, it's available to me, very simply. Give it to me whenever and wherever I want it. So it doesn't matter if I'm in Facebook, or if I'm on my mobile, or if I'm on my browser, or if I don't have any of that, I can still call somebody, but give the information to me wherever and whenever. And please make it personal. So example would be, I log on to my internet banking site, and I get told about a term deposit or a fixed deposit that I could get with a particular interest rate. But I haven't got any money to put in a term deposit. And the banks already know that. So why give me that bit of information? So make it personal. Make it relevant to you. Make it relevant to your customer. Empowering. So put the information in the customer's hand so that the customer can make a decision. An example of this would be, if you are going to propose or show the customer a product, like let's say the example of the term deposit, present it in a way that the customer can make an informed decision. So you have one product, here is another product. The difference between the product may be the interest rate, and that means after 3 months or 6 months or 2 years, your net income from this product will be this. Easy for the customer to make the decision. It's no longer sufficient to give raw data and expect the customers to use that to make decisions. Give them more rich information to help them make the decisions. In the 1980s, as we were creating the first internet experiences, and as we progressed through different stages of it, we always thought that it can be a complete digital experience. We could get rid of bank branches, and the customers would deal with us online or on mobile. It's not necessarily the case. Customers still, from time to time, want to call and talk to somebody. Have the assurance that there is somebody behind these products and services you're providing. So the last point is, just make it possible for the customer to deal with us on any channel, and when they do, having that personal touch sometimes does help, especially in relation to big financial decisions. So you might be wondering now, what has this got to do with APIs or connected businesses? In my view, the single most important thing that annoys customers is poor experience. And for years, we have expected the customers to come and deal with me as one organization. I refer to it as the value chain example. A customer comes in, deals with the bank. Customer comes in, deals with the telco. Customer comes in, deals with somebody else, the healthcare provider. As you know, the digital channels, the mobile, social experience means customers want to be consuming those services wherever they are. It's no longer sufficient to expect the customers to have a one-on-one dealing with you. And that's where I think the APIs are going to play a key role in integrating a holistic customer experience. What happens when organizations fail to provide this service? What happens when organizations fail to meet the customer expectations? Disruption happens. Disruptors come in. Customers leave you to do business with the disruptors. So if you're not providing a service, then someone else might step in to provide the service. Let's talk about some examples. Some of these ones should be quite familiar to you. Uber, the taxi booking service. Prior to this one, my taxi booking experience was I call the taxi company, tell them where I want to go, tell them where I am, I get a reference, I get an SMS, I wait for the taxi to arrive. When the taxi is close by, I get another SMS, done. And of course, the intermediary companies who were doing this were charging the cab driver a fee, charging me a booking fee. And I thought for a while that was the greatest experience that you could get from a taxi booking system. In comes players like Uber and others. What do? I want to book a taxi. I get on there, give the basic information, shows me the taxis that are close to me, shows me which drivers are bidding for the ride. Then I get the choice of picking the one that I think is right, maybe the closest one, maybe based on some other information. I pick it up, and I can watch the taxi coming through to me. Change the customer experience. Customers are rushing to use Uber and other taxi booking applications, and the global company CabCharge just estimated that their stock price will drop down to 10% if these apps and service providers are allowed to continue. So you can clearly see the impact of not providing the service at the level that the customers are expecting. Airbnb, another example of Airbnb connecting spare capacity in hotels and guest houses and personal residences with customers who want to use that service. A $2.5 billion company connected about 2.5 million users in 500,000 properties, continue to book 50 to 60,000 rooms per night. And where do you think these customers are coming from? Those customers are coming from existing hotels. So what's happening is the hotels are losing the business because they fail to offer a service that Airbnb is offering now. A similar example from the banking industry, much talked about, and there are quite a few examples of this. M-Pesa in Africa offering remote users airtime-based payment mechanism. So banking was not readily available to them. Banks were not reaching out to these customers, but the telcos were there, and telcos were able to use the mobile top-up facilities, mobile top-up agents to allow people to put cash onto the mobiles and make payments using that. They talked with their employers and got their salaries going into the same system. So they took money out of the banking system. Quite powerful. And then you have the same model repeated in many different places. So let's talk about how significant this movement of customers away from the business is. Why should we really worry about the customers moving away? So there is a cost of customer acquisition, which is quite significant for most businesses. McKinsey's estimate in this bit of research, and this relates to financial services organizations, but it would be the same for most of the other businesses. Estimate that acquiring a customer early on in their life, having an engaging experience with them, and keeping them for the duration of their life through provision of great service, provision of the right products for them, the right engagement, can yield 30 to 70% more revenue from those customers. So the profitability goes up by 30 to 70% because you have better engagement with the customer. So what we have done so far, we have said APIs are important because it has economic value. APIs, the need for APIs are driven from customer experience because the customers want the services integrated into their lifestyle. And now we've just looked at the impact of not providing that experience and losing those customers. Let's go on and look at what might be interesting or preferred experience for the customers. There are many smartphone users in this audience, so I might just ask for an indication of how many of you have more than 5 apps on your phones. Is that almost everybody? More than 20? Yeah, that's good. So the average number, according to statistics, I don't know whether this is true or false, is about 25 to 30. And how many apps do you use during the day, on any given day? 1? Supposed to be about 6. OK, so here's the experience. I go to the bank. I use the banking app, get my balance, work out how much is there for me to spend. If I'm shopping around, I shop for petrol. You know, petrol prices vary in Australia quite a bit. So where's the best price on petrol? Where's the best price on groceries? Another set of apps in retail. Then the services like bus timetables, one app. Weather, another app. So as you can see very quickly, things that I need on a day-to-day basis from an app perspective keeps increasing. And I keep switching between apps. So this is the user experience today. And when you think about how the users were articulating what they wanted, you could almost say that this experience might be right for today, but it may not be right for tomorrow. And here, once again, is where I see the opportunity for the APIs to come in providing the customers a better experience. How would that work? There's a class of applications that are evolving called personal predictive apps, personal prediction apps. Google Now being one of those examples. And there are a few others who have got decent amounts of funding, and they will be coming to market quite rapidly. And how would those things work? They can no longer, the companies can no longer expect one-to-one experience with an app and the business. So if I'm a bank saying I have a website or I have an app, you need to use my app to get my information is going to be not sufficient. What's happening here is these apps talk to a number of data sources, number of service providers, and integrate an experience that is really right for you. So if I got up late one morning and I have a meeting to go, the app experience could be, as I get up, I get a message saying, you're late, you missed the bus, can I call a taxi for you? Gives me the option, I pick the taxi, tells me it's a rainy day or cold day, I need to be prepared for that weather and dress appropriately, and I'm off, right? I would like to think that I'm not imagining this. This is the experience that the users are asking for. I'm in Facebook. I get a reminder saying, hey, you haven't paid the bill. I don't leave Facebook, and I jump into the banking app to make the payment. It pops up a message saying, pay now. You have this much money, press here to pay. Done. So what you're seeing is now in an integrated environment where I spend most of my time, I might end up using an app that is close to what I do mostly, and within that app, there'll be a lot of other services integrated, allowing me to consume those services as and when I need it. Of course, connected businesses, yourselves, don't come up with APIs because you think it's fun, right? We started off by saying APIs represent some value, additional revenue to the businesses. So how do companies monetize APIs, or how do companies generate revenue from APIs? There are obviously a number of different models, and these models are evolving as we speak. Some of them offer APIs for free to get the interest, get the usage up, with a view to charging for it in the long term. So either free or freemium style. So we know quite a few examples of those. Then there are other businesses like Salesforce who have a set of apps, set of applications, and they offer APIs as an additional mechanism of accessing those apps, and generates a significant amount of revenue from those APIs. And the example that we talked previously about, Expedia, once again, offers the APIs as a way of broadening the distribution channel. The affiliate network represents widened distribution. Through that distribution comes additional revenue. And then there are the native API providers whose service is really the API. So the product is the API, you pay for the API, you pay for the product. Obviously, the models are evolving. And another interesting model that is evolving is API aggregators. And the people who realize that not every company, every organization, every business is going to come up with their own APIs, then there's opportunity for intermediaries to come in and aggregate data from businesses. It's happening already, but API enablement is the new part. Aggregate the data and provide a better experience for the customer. So the value to the customer is customer gets to see products from a number of different companies that helps them make the decision on what product might be right for them. The businesses get the benefit of not having to invest individually on APIs, but intermediary providing that one. The intermediary collects some dollars from the providers. So you may have worked out by now that APIs are important, that we should be thinking seriously about APIs. Who do you think in your businesses should have responsibility for the API strategy? Is that the CIO or the CEO? Who thinks it's a CIO? Who thinks it's a CEO? Yeah, I think they all are, right? I think they all are, because there's a massive technology play. But I think the point is that it's a massive revenue opportunity. The whole organization should be thinking about the APIs in a way that it's constructive, it drives revenue, and it gives them a niche and an edge, especially at this stage where things are moving really fast. And this is really important way Gartner predicts this one. It says the people without API strategies will be left behind. Gartner also says to banks should be banking on APIs and apps, not on applications. I think it probably applies to more than just the banks. So let's consider what are the key criteria, key things that we need to consider as we formulate our API strategy. We talked quite a bit about the customer experience and what the customers are expecting. Companies have traditionally thought of themselves as offering a product. Customers, on the other hand, consumers, on the other hand, think about how that product or service fits into their lifestyle. So the examples that we talked about, when you're in Facebook, you're able to make a payment. The predictive app integrates into your lifestyle. So when you think about the API strategy, think about how your APIs are going to really benefit the customer, achieve something tangible, something that is meaningful for them on a day-to-day basis. Not just a product information, then the customer has to try and understand that to make a decision. You almost get the customer to the point that they can make the decision. So it's more human-centric, fits in with the way the customer is thinking. We talked about this one before, value chain versus ecosystem. Don't expect the customers to be dedicating their time on your app, talking to you all the time. Customers are going to be talking to those predictive apps that are coming out. They're going to spend more time in that. Your APIs need to integrate into that one. If your APIs don't integrate in there, you're potentially going to lose out on your customers. IT systems complexity. Very familiar topic for most of you. There is a great deal of systems complexity in most of the organizations, legacy systems that are hard to integrate into, systems that are hard to connect to. Thankfully, we're at the WSO2 conference, and our colleagues at WSO2 are working very hard to solve some of these problems. So my recommendation is stay close to them and follow their guidance. Likewise for security. We are no longer dealing with one organization. So we are no longer dealing with a single user ID and password provided to you by a bank or your telco to log in and pay your bill. We are talking about existing in an ecosystem, and the security requirements will be very different. If you had to log into every system, every organization to get your service sorted out, it's not going to be the most pleasant experience. So when you think about APIs, building your API, think about how you provide security. It's very important. From a banking and financial services perspective, we spend a lot of time thinking about security. So much so, it's been proposed, and we're currently investigating where banks can actually become a trusted authorization or security provider. Because the banks are traditionally trusted by customers, and a bank can be the default security provider for connected systems in this connected world. Finally, last but not least, regulatory constraints. A lot of what you want to do from a connected perspective in improving the customer experience sometimes gets hampered by what the regulators are telling us. It's not in one country, it's in every country. Uber's taxi app, Airbnb's hotel booking system, M-Pesa's payment system, all came against massive regulatory resistance. CabCharge claims that their share price will drop down to 10%. Regulators are worried. Airbnb has been hit by the hotel lobbies, saying if you do this, you're actually using people's personal preference residences, and they are not up to the standards, and various things. And with M-Pesa, it was, should telcos be allowed to hold money? But fortunately, in most of these cases, they have also been able to lobby the regulators to get the approvals. Has taken some time. But the rewards at the end of it are quite interesting. So my suggestion would be, you're going to see the same thing with the local regulators. Get around them, educate them, take them on the journey. Okay. So now let's look at how we can solve some of these problems in an architectural sense as we build up these systems. And I'll talk a little bit about banking in this case. When we think about the experience that we want to create, we start off by looking at the products and services and the processes we have. And when we do that, we typically end up thinking about line of business or LOB systems, banking, investment, insurance. So if you are a fully fledged financial services company trying to create an experience for the user around financial management, you'll be having to deal with these systems. Then you start thinking about, okay, I got to API enable it. So you start building service layers on top of it to make it more accessible to the channels. And very soon you realize, oh, I'm still thinking about my business silo. It doesn't quite work like that. If the customer really wanted to know their portfolio position of what they own and what they owe, you need to look across all those three systems: investment, insurance, and investments, and banking. So what you start thinking about doing is start thinking about a process layer or service layer that spans those systems. And then, of course, you got a number of technical challenges around that one, which is integration of the systems. So in the way we think about at Commonwealth Bank's Asian business, how we do this one, we are working with WSO2, and the way we think about our architecture is in relation to some of the WSO2 systems. And then as you try to decompose the business services layer, you think about business processes, orchestrating processes that span those systems, and wrapping it up in nice security, API management, the hygiene stuff that you need to take APIs to market rapidly. What that does is, to me, future-proofs your architecture, future-proofs your strategy, right? Today, it's mobile, desktop, social channels. Tomorrow, it will be Google Glasses, the wristwatch, and any other wearable device that the talented young technologists will dream up. So as you think about the API strategy, think about how you enable that one in a future-proof way. Work on those key criteria, and then you are set up for success. That kind of concludes most of what I wanted to say today. At Commonwealth Bank, we are very serious about innovation and customer experience. So I want to leave you with a video that highlights some of the things that we are doing on human-centric design to discover what our customers want, and building platforms and APIs and an ecosystem that allows customers to really get an engaging experience with the bank and with their environment. Thank you very much.
Platform for business. To access the OpenPi platform, we've developed Albert, an interactive multifunctional device. At its core, Albert is a secure merchant terminal, but with the Pi platform, the possibilities are endless. Albert will be easily tailored with different apps from the Pi platform, each designed to enrich a business's customer experience and help them become more productive. Any business can benefit. Take restaurants. CommBank's Split the Bill app will do exactly what its name suggests. It will split the bill, but it won't just divide it by 2 or 3. It'll add that little human touch too, by letting each person at the table pay their share quickly, conveniently, and securely. And that's just one example of what will be possible thanks to the Pi platform. You could have an inventory app that helps you keep track of your stock, giving you an accurate snapshot of your business. Or a loyalty app that connects with and rewards customers by using Albert's wireless technology and inbuilt camera for on-the-spot redemption. Pi is the future of business, and you can be part of it. As a business, by enhancing your customer experience in-store, or as an app developer, by helping to transform the way businesses operate. It's up to you, because Pi is whatever you want it to be. Can your bank revolutionise your business? CommBank can.